we will breathe a peace. Take a slow breath in, and a prolonged exhale. Contemporary writer Cole Arthur Riley recently published a book of flash liturgies that includes breath prayers and focused mantras to go with them. In the first movement of Advent, her breath prayer is, on the inhale, I grow weary of waiting. And exhale, God, keep me from despair. This is apropos when we're living through insanity, polycrises. We start with breathing. We inhale, I grow weary of waiting, and exhale, God, keep me from despair. In the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea, and Herod was ruler of Galilee, and his brother Philip, ruler of the region of Iturea and Trachonius, and Lysanias, ruler of Abilene, during the high priesthood of Annas and Caiaphas. Luke is careful to place Jesus' good news in context, clearly naming the political and religious leaders of the day. Now, I suspect that when Luke looked around his world, he too saw insanity. Religious rulers and political ones who worked hand in glove in a system that oppressed the majority of the populace. Things like the cost of rent, such that relying on a food bank to feed your family is the only option. A world where there is no getting ahead for most people, only subsistence and survival amidst grinding poverty. A world where neither Israelis nor Palestinians are particularly well served by their political leadership. Peace is but a far-off dream in a morass of hate, greed, and dominating power. And so we breathe our prayer. Inhale, I grow weary of waiting. God, keep me from despair. I grow weary of waiting. God, keep me from despair. If divine approval, godly power, or the good news of Christ was found in culture, German, Roman, or American, then it would be found amongst the religious and political leaders that Luke details. But no, that is not what Luke says. Luke turns away from culture's religious, economic, and political powers, stating instead, the word of God came to John, son of Zechariah in the wilderness. God's presence is most active away from the centers of power, among unexpected and humble people. Hard to overstate how impactful, how profound and challenging this is, as much now as then. The Word of God came to a volunteer at Kool-Aid Society's Rockaway shelter. The Word of God came to a doctor at Al-Khali Hospital in Gaza. The Word of God came to an indigenous youth at St. Columba's Surprise Sunrise Sanctuary in Fort Hurley. God's presence is most active away from centers of power, among unexpected simple people. This is the space in which prophets have worked all through history. The Word of God comes to us